With unwavering concentration, a young man named Ryan channels energy into his sword. A hefty bald man raises the blade, exclaiming in awe at its might. He commends Rain, claiming his magic can transform any ordinary sword into a legend. Radiating pride, Rain eagerly agrees with the glowing compliments. The large man, still gripping the sword, suddenly remembers something crucial. He tells Rain that the guildmaster Barrios has been calling for him. Perplexed, Rain wonders why the guildmaster would wish to see him. They stroll through the guild hall, bustling with fellow adventurers. Rain notices the formidable swords and shields his allies wield. His gaze sweeps over the powerful axes and shining suits of heavy armor. A wave of pride fills him. He's the one who reinforced all their gear. As he climbs the staircase, he reflects on how his efforts strengthen the guild. He embraces his non-combat role, content with his impact on their achievements. Now walking alone, he eagerly speculates about the reason for the summons. His mind races with hopeful scenarios, like a well-deserved pay increase. He envisions a special request from a renowned adventurer from a distant land. Upon entering the office, Guildmaster Barrios coldly informs Rain of his termination. Rain's expression twists into one of sheer shock and disbelief. Barrios clarifies that with the gear reinforced, Rain is no longer necessary. Screaming in outrage, Rain struggles to grasp the sudden betrayal. The large man who once praised him now tells him to leave. Shaking with fury, Rain yells back that he won't accept this. His former friend cracks his knuckles, threatening to forcibly eject him. Rain defiantly dares the man, asking if he wants to throw down. He's violently tossed out of the guild hall with his meager possessions. Crashing onto the cobblestone street, he struggles to rise, pain coursing through him. A fleeting thought of learning to fight crosses his mind. His musings are interrupted by jeers from the guild hall windows above. His former guildmates ridicule him, branding him a useless one-trick pony. They hurl insults and trash, telling him to disappear and die. Looking up in disbelief, he realizes he once considered these people friends. The painful truth hits him. No one is coming to his aid. His hand forms a tight, trembling fist as his determination solidifies. With a final scream of rage, he vows to sever ties with them all. Consumed by fury, he bolts from the city, his frustration echoing in his wake. He continues his frantic escape, distancing himself from his past. His run takes him deep into the barren, open countryside. Finally collapsing from fatigue, he wonders where he has ended up. He gasps for breath, utterly lost and disoriented in the strange wilderness. After a moment of despair, he forces himself to regain his composure. Wiping away tears, he resolves that crying won't change anything. His expression shifts to a smirk. He decides to pursue his own desires. He explains that his magic operates by granting special reinforcement points to gear. A cunning look crosses his face as he reveals a secret he's kept hidden. He declares his intention to release all points from his former guild's equipment. Back in the city, the unsuspecting Guildmaster Barrios sits at his desk. Suddenly, a dark orb of power, marked +7, erupts from his dagger. The magical reinforcement disappears in an instant, leaving the blade powerless. All over the city, similar orbs of power explode from adventurers' gear. Countless points of power stream through the sky above the town. A torrent of dark energy spirals racing toward a far-off destination. In a field of grass, rain falls as a storm of points descends upon him. He lifts his hands, and the orbs of energy start to merge with him. Numbers flash and swirl around him, accumulating at a dizzying pace. The total skyrockets past 570, forming a vortex of pure energy. The count keeps rising, quickly exceeding an astonishing 1,100. He gazes upward, mouth agape, overwhelmed by the sheer power. The points merge into a single sphere, totaling 13,033, his efforts rewarded. With a wry grin, he acknowledges the hard work he put in. Realizing he needs a vessel, he searches his bag for a weapon. He retrieves a basic copper dagger, deciding it will suffice. Unsure of its ability to contain power, he resolves to try it anyway. He starts channeling the vast energy into the small, humble weapon. A confident smile spreads as he finishes the task. The remaining power orb diminishes, revealing 3,033 points left. He grips the glowing dagger, thrilled to have infused over 10,000 points. His focused reflection shines in the blade's newly polished surface. He senses its immense power, but admits he can't fully grasp its potential. With his weapon ready, he seeks something else to empower. He wishes for armor or a shield, but only finds scrolls in his pouch. A clever thought strikes him, and a resourceful smile brightens his face. He strips off his clothes, channeling the remaining 3,033 points into them. He holds up the reinforced shirt, thinking it should function like armor. Having exhausted all reclaim points, his immediate task is done. He dresses, confident he can now fight despite his lack of experience. A peaceful, content smile settles on his face as he sits to rest. He reflects on his life as the guild's tirelessly working magician. While he longed for an easy life, he also dreamed of adventure. A sudden, joyful realization hits him like a flash of light. He happily exclaims to himself that he can now pursue both. He plans to join a new guild, earn money, and live freely. Later, he arrives in a new city with towering, pointed spires. His aim is to locate an adventurer's guild, not his old one. At a bakery, the owner gruffly tells him to buy something or leave. After buying a croissant, he inquires again about local guilds. The baker merely shrugs, admitting he has no clue. He remembers his frustrating search, with everyone wanting payment for information. He strolls the streets, sampling treats but finding no leads. A sudden shout from a shadowy alleyway catches him off guard. He glances around, seeing no one until two thugs step out. The two men demand he hand over all his money, no questions asked. They notice his unimpressive gear and threaten him with a gut punch. An idea flickers in his mind as he processes their threat. The thugs stare, puzzled by his complete lack of fear. His face lights up with glee as he excitedly explains his clothes are reinforced. With sparkling eyes, he expresses his eagerness to test his 3,033-point cloak. A young woman rushes toward them, demanding to know what's going on. The thugs turn, irritated by the interruption, asking who she is. She insists her identity is irrelevant, focusing on their suspicious behavior. One thug claims they are just friends, but the rain quickly denies it. Nina shouts her plan to seek help, sounding the alarm. A menacing thug towers over her, threatening a beating. Nina's eyes widen in terror as she processes the danger. Rain steps in cheerfully, reminding the thugs they should focus on him. Turning to the frightened woman, Rain softly inquires about her name. The cobblestones come into view as she quietly states her name is Nina. From behind, Rain expresses gratitude to Nina for her attempt to help, urging her to step back. Confronting his foes, Rain bizarrely requests a punch to the gut. Nina's expression twists in disbelief, questioning if she heard him right. She desperately protests against his reckless plan, but he stubbornly insists on going through with it. The large thug's face shifts to irritation and confusion. His patience finally breaks as he roars, accepting the challenge to hit the punk. He draws back his massive fist, ready to unleash a crushing blow on Rain. Nina screams in terror, her hands flying to her face in horror. A scream of agony pierces the air, but it's not Rain who cries out. The focus shifts to the attacker's face, twisted in pain as he stumbles back. Rainey watches, surprised yet pleased, noting the punch didn't faze him. The thug's arm shatters on impact and he howls in unbearable pain. Nina and the other thug can only stare in shock at the gruesome scene. Rain looks at the bloody mess with disgust, wondering why they're so squeamish. The defeated thugs scurry down the street, vowing revenge. Nina, regaining her composure, asks if he has an iron plate under his clothes. With a grin, Rain explains he simply invested 3,033 reinforcement points into his attire. She accepts his odd explanation, conceding with a strange smile that he has his secrets. Rain formally introduces himself, confirming her name is indeed Nina. From a distance, Nina cheerfully reciprocates as they part ways. Later, they cross paths again on the street, and Rain inquires about a local guild. Nina realizes he's searching for an adventurer's guild to join. She suggests a place known as the Blue Crystal. When Rain expresses surprise, Nina defensively insists the guild is real. She proudly declares that she serves as the receptionist for the Blue Crystal. She offers to guide him there since she's heading back to work. Rain eagerly agrees, excited to see the guild for himself. As they walk, he thanks her for her kindness toward a stranger. Nina responds with a soft, pleased giggle at his compliment. She cryptically warns him not to be too shocked, leaving him confused. Nina mysteriously adds that she's eager to see his reaction. They arrive at the Blue Crystal Guild, a small and unimpressive structure. Both Rain and Nina gaze at the modest building with blank expressions. Nina sadly asks if he's disappointed, assuming he won't join them. To her surprise, Raina's face lights up as he declares his intention to register there. Nina is taken aback, asking if he's serious, and he confirms it. She grabs him, excitedly asking if he's really going to join, calling him a parrot. Nina bursts through the guild doors, shouting for the master about the situation. Her enthusiastic shouts about a potential new member echo throughout the building. The guildmaster cynically assumes it's just another adventurer who will soon leave. Both Nina and the master glance towards the entrance with tense anticipation. Rain stands in the doorway, his expression calm and neutral. He makes the shocking announcement that he hails from the fangs of the Beast King. The guildmaster's eyes gleam with pure, unrestrained joy at the revelation. Nina and she share a joyful embrace, celebrating their hard-earned victory. The guildmaster smiles brightly, introducing herself as Else from the Blue Crystal. Else warmly invites Rain into the guild's main hall. She mentions having tasks to complete, but is open to any questions he may have. Nina apologizes for her master's enthusiasm, but Raina assures her he's thrilled for her. They take a seat at a table while Nina starts the registration process. Nina details the fees and benefits, urging him to sign the contract. Rain picks up a feathered quill to complete the official documents. Their focused work is abruptly disrupted by a loud bang at the entrance. Two thuggish brutes burst through the door, scornfully dismissing the guild. The bald thug pounds his fist on the counter, creating a loud thud. He demands cash, threatening to wreck the place if they refuse. Nina and Rand watch, utterly baffled by the unexpected intrusion. The thugs grumble about a botched job, insisting on monetary reparations. Nina struggles to comprehend the aggressive and puzzling situation. The thugs suggest an alternative. They could just take Rain instead of cash. Tunine, completely shocked, surprisingly agrees to the thug's offer. The thug motions for him to step forward, but Nina tries to prevent him. She frantically asks Raina what he's planning and pleads with him to stop. Nina reminds him that his invulnerability might only protect against gut punches. Rainey calmly points out it's just two people, the same as before, leaving Nina confused. Both of their faces go pale as they realize the situation has escalated. Outside, a furious mob of thugs has completely surrounded the guild. The thug with the shattered arm bellows that they seek revenge. The mob roars in agreement, warning Ryan not to underestimate their strength. Rain and Nina stand together, their faces tense as they confront the mob. Nina, shaking with fear, urges Rain to flee, warning that they will kill him. Elsie calmly reassures Nina, claiming to wield the world's most powerful weapon. She reveals a comically tiny dagger, leaving Nina stunned at the sight. Nina's face fills the panel as she screams about how absurdly small it is. She insists the minuscule blade is worthless while Rainey inspects it in confusion. Rain confidently states he has invested 10,000 reinforcement points into the dagger. The mob outside ridicules the tiny weapon, questioning what it can possibly do. Nina desperately tries to pull Rain back to safety, gesturing toward an escape route. He resists, telling her to stop tugging as he readies himself to confront them. Rain swings the small dagger in a single smooth motion toward the crowd. A tremendous force sends the entire mob of thugs flying like ragdolls. Rain and Nina stare in wide-eyed disbelief at the incredible power they've just seen. A massive explosion of light and force erupts in the street. The concussive blast violently impacts a nearby building, causing it to collapse. A deep trench is gouged into the ground, strewn with debris and bodies. Two bystanders gawk in shock, questioning what on earth just transpired. A group of guards flees in terror, shouting that he's a monster. Nina turns to Rainey, her expression a mix of awe and fear, asking what he did. He replies calmly that he merely flicked his sword a little. Amidst the wreckage, Nina asks if he's serious, and he affirms it. Rain gazes down at the simple copper dagger still held tightly in his grip. He has a profound realization about the true potential of his copper sword plus 10,000. He stands alone at the edge of the vast crater he created in the street. Nina approaches him, and he turns to her, his expression serious and contemplative. Nina walks through the debris, announcing that everyone is safe. Rain shows his immense relief, while Nina seems to reprimand him for his recklessness. Their guild leader, Else, arrives with a friendly smile, advising Rain to exercise caution. Rian recognizes her, greeting the woman as his mentor as she joins them. Else officially welcomes Rain to the Blue Crystal, explaining their supportive guild environment. She excitedly mentions that their guild is filled with experienced members. Nina agrees, optimistically suggesting they can assist him in mastering his abilities. At this idea, Rain's expression brightens with hope and newfound understanding. Elsie teasingly calls Nina a pessimist, to which she retorts that her master is overly optimistic. The focus shifts entirely to Rain, his name resonating with importance. His new guildmates stand beside him, confidently proclaiming he will become a legendary adventurer. Elsie's cheerful expression changes as she reveals the hefty price for the extensive damages. Rain's face twists in disbelief as he stutters at the staggering amount of 1,000 gold. He spirals into panic, calculating how many years of labor that would entail. Elsie laughs it off, casually suggesting he can repay it while working for her. In desperation, Rainey inquires with Nina about any jobs that pay that much. From behind the counter, Nina looks at him, pretending to be puzzled by his question. With a mischievous grin, she muses that it would be dull if he missed out. The master interjects, confirming they do have a quest set aside for later. Nina immediately protests, arguing that it's far too early for a novice like him. Elsie brushes off her concerns, asking what she could possibly mean. She dramatically reveals the quest involves hunting dragons, illustrated by a fearsome creature. The receptionist explains that this challenging quest has been open for 2 weeks without any takers. Rain can only mutter the word dragon, stunned into disbelief. Nina insists it's a perilous task for seasoned adventurers, not for someone so green. The master dismisses her worries, confident it will be fine with her guidance. Rain argues at the counter that someone will eventually have to take the job. The receptionist explains that many adventurers have never managed to defeat a single dragon. She continues, her expression filled with doubt and concern for his safety. Unfazed by the warnings, Rain sits there with a simple, assured smile. The receptionist internally questions his sanity, thinking he must be joking. Turning to Nina, he shares his desire to discover just how far he can push himself. He acknowledges his lack of experience, but insists his gear is more than sufficient. He presents his weapon, calling it a holy blade with 10,000 reinforcement points. He gestures to his attire, claiming it's even tougher than steel armor. He boldly dares the concerned Nina to stab him hard to validate his claims. Nina screams in horror as someone rushes forward to accept his challenge. A blonde swordswoman stands with a dagger pressed against Rain's unpierced back. The astonished woman confirms his clothing is indeed tougher than any steel armor. Rain cheerfully thanks her and eagerly asks Nina if she witnessed the demonstration. Nina thinks to herself that a normal person would be furious about being stabbed. Unfazed, Rain casually turns to his assailant and asks for her name. The swordswoman introduces herself with a serious expression as Lily Frambo. Both Rain and Nina are taken aback to hear the name of the renowned S-rank adventurer. Gripping her sword, Lily declares she will accompany him for Nina's sake. She reassures the anxious Nina, telling her that everything will be all right. With a confident grin, she reminds Nina of her impressive S-rank adventurer status. Nina retorts that Lily shouldn't boast about being drenched with such misplaced pride. Lily confirms Rain's name and announces their departure, to which he eagerly agrees. Nina desperately tries to intervene, wanting to consult with the master first. The master exclaims in frustration as the two adventurers leave the guild hall. Nina glances back at her master, who appears slightly taken aback. The scene shifts to the city's towering spires beneath a gloomy sky. Rain and Lily's silhouettes are spotted strolling down a city street. Lily Framble, the youngest S-rank adventurer, is aware of the city's transformation. It's revealed that her name resonates throughout the entire continent. A flashback depicts 7-year-old Lily triumphing over 5 low-class dragons. By age 12, she had already vanquished a middle-class dragon. Ultimately, she gained fame for single-handedly defeating a high-class dragon. Currently, Rain mentions he hasn't heard any news about her lately. He brings up various rumors about her illness, or even her death. Lily feels irritated, calling out his nerve for saying such things directly. Rain questions why a renowned adventurer like her is part of the Blue Crystal Guild. She curtly responds that it's simply a good and respectable guild. Rain smiles, accepting her straightforward answer as a valid point. He expresses gratitude for her company on the quest, but she brushes it off. She clarifies that the guild would face trouble if he were to die. Rain appears puzzled, struggling to grasp her reasoning. Lily explains that people would blame the guild for allowing a novice to venture alone. She concludes that his potential demise would only create issues for everyone. Rain admits his lack of combat experience, having focused on reinforcement magic. He kindly offers to enhance her weapon or armor if she ever requires it. A close-up of Lily's eye shows a flicker of surprise at his generous proposal. She raises her sword, its blade radiating a powerful magical glow. Rain instantly recognizes her weapon, identifying it as a formidable magic sword. Lily confirms this, explaining it's a nameless yet powerful, magically forged blade. Rain seems poised to respond, hands raised as if to cast a spell. Lily glances at him, her expression resolute and unwavering in her choice. He calls out to her as she starts to walk away down the street. She again dismisses his offer of reinforcement, stating it's time for them to leave. The scene shifts, revealing the pointed rooftops of buildings at their destination. They have ventured out of the city into a barren and rocky terrain. The two adventurers stand before a scene of immense devastation and ruin. Lily surveys the destruction, calmly concluding their target is a middle-class dragon. Rain panics, urgently asking where the dragon is, but Lily reassures him. She explains she deduced the dragon's power level from the extensive damage. His face brightens with admiration as he exclaims, "She's an incredible adventurer." Lily inquires how he could tell, and he earnestly responds, "It's from experience." He elaborates that eventually one starts to notice these details. A light blush creeps across his face as he speaks with flustered excitement. He points ahead and shouts for them to move, but she halts his advance. With a serious expression, she points in the opposite direction, correcting him. He asks if her direction comes from experience, and she tells him to be quiet. Rain suddenly calls out Lily's name in alarm, sensing something is amiss. The two appear as tiny silhouettes in a vast, desolate, and ominous wilderness. A closer view shows them traversing through the barren landscape. Rain calmly notes they should be reaching their destination shortly. He adds that encountering the dragon at any moment wouldn't be surprising. Lily suddenly freezes, her body tense and trembling, fists clenched tightly. Rain gazes up at her tense figure, confusion and concern etched on his face. A young man named Ryan appears worried, questioning his friend about her distress. With a furious glare, Lily demands he leave her alone and go after the dragon. He proposes they retreat and take a break if she's feeling unwell. She turns away, snapping that he knows nothing about her life over the last 2 years. Rainy looks confused, admitting he has no idea what she means. Their discussion continues as they stand on the rugged terrain. Lily erupts in anger, shouting that she has done absolutely nothing. Taken aback by her outburst, Rainy stutters, trying to grasp her meaning. He reminds her that she is the famous S-rank adventurer, Lily. In tears of frustration, she yells for him to be quiet, calling him a fool. From afar, their other companion watches, completely baffled by the dispute. Lily starts to explain, revealing she has isolated herself in the Blue Crystal Guild. Her face shows pain as she admits it has been 2 years since she left. Rain processes this shocking news, repeating the facts in disbelief. A dark, fragmented memory of a near-fatal injury flashes through her mind. With a heavy heart, she confesses she can no longer fight. A flashback reveals her defeated and upside down after her first failed mission. She explains that even now, the thought of combat makes it hard to breathe. Her hands shake, and she breaks into a cold sweat just thinking about battle. It's no wonder, she says, that Rainy was oblivious to her condition. She finishes her heartbreaking revelation by stating she can no longer wield a sword. Rain, absorbing her trauma, bluntly asks why she even joined the quest. Flustered and blushing, Lily threatens to cut him down if he speaks again. He calmly points out that her target should be the dragon, not him. The two stand in the barren landscape as a small object appears in the sky. Desperately trying to change the subject, she points and exclaims about a lovely bird. A gigantic bat-winged dragon swoops down from the sky with a terrifying roar. The creature's wide-open mouth reveals rows of needle-like teeth. Lily's face twists in sheer terror as she stutters in fear. She urges Rainy to flee, warning him that the beast will breathe fire. However, Rainy stands firm, his body tense and ready for battle. Lily cries out in disbelief, questioning what he thinks he's doing. He turns to her, explaining calmly that his clothes are reinforced. Her eyes widen in panic and disbelief at his seemingly reckless confidence. She argues frantically that reinforced clothing can't possibly withstand a dragon's breath. He remains resolute, assuring her that everything will be fine, asking for her trust. With quiet authority, he instructs her to stay behind him. Lily watches him, her face a mix of fear and disbelief. Rainy charges ahead while their other companion sarcastically repeats his bird comment. Lily's thoughts are a whirlwind of anger and anxiety, struggling to trust him. The companion calls him insane, saying his reassurance is scarier than the dragon. A torrent of fire erupts from the dragon's mouth, engulfing the area. Lily shuts her eyes in horror, bracing for the worst. Her eyes open, her expression shifting from terror to shock. Rainy and Lily stand in a small protected circle, completely unscathed. The dragon is seen flying away into the distance after its assault. He calmly observes that the beast has departed, but will return soon. Lily, utterly astonished, asks him what he just did to keep them safe. He proudly explains that he blocked the attack with his powerful reinforced armor. She stares at him, her eyes wide with a dawning sense of wonder. Together, she admits his power is more surprising than she anticipated. Fueled by his victory, he vows to handle the dragon's assault. With confidence, he unsheathes his weapon, ready to strike the beast. Lily's hope falters instantly as she notices the sword's frail appearance. She questions whether the sword has received any enhancements. Rain quickly assures her it has, but Lily remains skeptical. A small silhouette of the dragon appears in the sky, circling for another strike. Tension fills Lily's face as she announces the creature's imminent return. He reassures her, reiterating his promise to take it down. With his tiny sword ready, he charges to confront the beast directly. His footsteps resonate as he rushes to challenge the flying creature. Lily observes him, confusion etched on her features. Her face hardens as she contemplates the ongoing conflict. Even in this dire moment, her fear stops her from drawing her own blade. She thinks that without her fear, she could have easily defeated the dragon. From afar, Rain apologizes for causing her concern about his plan. He outlines his straightforward tactic of attacking until he lands a blow. Lily's frustration grows as she listens to him. She seethes internally, viewing him as a novice trying to appear impressive. This thought crystallizes into a strong realization of her own potential. With newfound determination, she dashes forward, claiming she can do better. Rain is taken aback by her sudden move, calling her name in disbelief. Now leading the charge, Lily takes control, proposing a new plan. She instructs Ray to stay calm and wait for the opportune moment. He gazes up at her, timidly agreeing to follow her guidance. She cautions him that his armor can withstand only one more blow. With fierce determination, she states that failure means losing the battle. Despite not grasping the strategy, Reyna places his full trust in her. The dragon's enormous toothy mouth opens right in front of them. Seizing the moment, Lily unleashes a powerful command to attack. With a fierce battle cry, Rain readies himself to strike the beast. He thrusts his small knife forward, hitting the dragon with explosive force. The impact sends a shockwave through the air, slightly pushing Lily back. Lily witnesses the astonishing outcome, her hand covering her mouth in disbelief. Her face reflects pure astonishment at the spectacle she just saw. The colossal creature has been cleanly severed into two equal halves. Rain turns to her, offering a gentle smile, grateful for her vital assistance. She accepts his thanks, still processing the unbelievable sight. He marvels at his weapon, astonished it could take down a dragon. Excitement surges through him as he realizes its fighting potential. A sharp cracking noise resonates as the blade suddenly starts to splinter. The sword breaks into several pieces, leaving him utterly stunned. He gazes at the shattered hilt while Lily explains the durability issue. She reminds him it was merely a cheap copper sword unfit for such force. Rain listens closely, absorbing this vital piece of knowledge. He murmurs his understanding as she clarifies that reinforcement doesn't enhance durability. Lily advises him to select a more robust item for reinforcement next time. Suddenly, an odd noise comes from Rain's own clothing. His tunic and pants begin to disintegrate into dust and tatters. He gasps in shock as his clothes fall apart, leaving him completely exposed. With a flushed complexion, Lily yells at the approaching young man to keep his distance. Post-battle, Rain lies exposed and unconscious on the ground while Lily observes. Later, the now covered Rain rests his head in Lily's lap beneath a tree. As he stirs and opens his eyes, she looks down at him, worry etched on her face. He quickly shuts his eyes again, pretending to be asleep as she continues to watch. Rain keeps up the charade, eyes shut tight as if in a deep slumber. He declares he's asleep, claiming anything he says now is mere sleep talk. In his dreams, he recalls her earlier worry about the guild's reputation if he perished. Lilia evasively shakes her head, her troubled expression turning away. He continues his thoughts, suggesting that had they perished together, it would have been different. He theorizes that people would have simply attributed their deaths to the dragon's immense power. Her expression changes, eyes widening slightly as she processes his dark reasoning. He concludes that the guild's reputation would remain intact, thus shielding them. Rain expresses his belief that she intended to sacrifice herself to be of use. His words strike home, and her face twists with a mix of shock and anguish. He gently clarifies that no one in their guild would have welcomed her death. Rain points out that her sacrifice would only bring sorrow to their friends, not save their reputation. Clearly flustered, Lily tries to brush off his insightful remarks as mere sleep talk. He quietly inquires if that's genuinely the case, his simple question breaking her defenses. Overwhelmed with emotion, her composed facade starts to crack as she looks down. She stutters, beginning to reveal the true source of her feelings and motivations. Lily shares that after she could no longer fight, the Blue Crystal Guild welcomed her. With tears in her eyes, she states that her guild members mean the world to her. All she ever wanted was to find a way to contribute something significant. Tears streaming down her cheeks, she confesses her only wish was to be of help. Rain listens to her heartfelt revelation with a calm, understanding expression. A newfound determination fills her, and she declares her strong intention to rise again. Wiping her tears, she begs him not to share their private conversation with anyone. He reassures her, calmly reminding her that he was merely sleep-talking. The serious moment fades as Rain sits up, startling the still-seated Lily. He lets out a loud yawn and stretches, as if genuinely waking up. Lily observes his sudden shift in demeanor with a weary, suspicious gaze. With a goofy grin, he exclaims how soft and heavenly her lap felt. Furious, Lily pummels Raina, rejecting his earlier comment about her chest. As he cries out in pain, she angrily tells him to be quiet. The two appear as distant figures in a vast, barren landscape. Their journey presses onward through the desolate, rocky terrain. Ryan explains to Lily his ability to transfer reinforcement points to different equipment. All he needs, he continues, is to locate a new vessel for the power. Lily counters that his magic doesn't compensate for her lack of experience. Wrapped in a blanket, Rain earnestly requests her assistance. A blush creeps onto her cheek as she processes his sincere request. Tears well up in her eyes as he tells her that he truly needs her. Bowing deeply, Lily formally agrees to place herself in Rain's care. From afar, an unseen woman watches their new partnership take shape. She smiles, concluding that they are fine without her oversight. Raina's expression reveals he now feels he can fully trust his companion. Lily gazes on with a quiet, contemplative expression, having accepted his request. The mysterious woman decides her task is complete and begins her journey home. Before the dragon's massive corpse, Rain activates his reinforcement magic. He shares that his special ability allows him to siphon points from monsters. A swirling mass of dark energy bursts forth from the fallen creature. The gathered energy forms an orb, showcasing a value of plus 700. He can't believe he scored so many points from a mere middle-class dragon. His top priority shifts to obtaining new weapons and armor. Gazing at his broken sword, he longs for sturdier gear. He assures Lily that he'll just transfer the points to new equipment. With a flat expression, she silently questions his upbeat demeanor. He proposes leaving the dragon for scavengers to pick over. Lily quickly dismisses his idea of heading back to town. She notes that night is approaching, suggesting they camp here. A lively campfire soon crackles, casting light across the dark terrain. Rain points at the flickering flames with childlike awe. Incredible, Lily. With a joyful grin, he shares his excitement about being an adventurer. His companion observes his enthusiasm with a serious, unimpressed gaze. Her expression softens into a warm, understanding smile. Rain inquires about her thoughts, but she brushes it off as trivial. Suddenly, her instincts kick in, her face showing shock and concern. Calling out his name, she gestures into the shadows to get his attention. In the distance, 5 figures can be seen silhouetted against the horizon. Lily warns a startled Rain to get ready. Those figures could be bandits. With a serious expression, she reminds him he's currently unarmed. A determined Rain announces he'll start crafting new gear right away. When Lily questions him, he simply states he's a reinforcement mage. He elaborates on his skill to transform any object into a powerful tool. A doubtful Lily grants the shirtless Rain permission to begin his task. Meanwhile, Lily scans the area with a telescope, declaring her preparations are done. She alerts a startled Rain, noting the approaching group appears well-armed. Complimenting her telescope, she urges him to hurry and take a look. Rain expresses his confusion as he accepts the spyglass from her. Peering through the lens, he recognizes the figures as adventurers from his old guild. Lily reacts with worry, realizing the situation could turn hostile. He remembers that these particular members were absent when he was dismissed. His expression turns contemplative as he ponders the consequences. Rain concludes they might mistakenly think he's still one of them. Lily cheerfully suggests they should just act friendly in that case. He vehemently opposes the idea, proclaiming his loyalty to the Blue Crystal Guild. She explains that revealing his departure would be seen as a threat. Lily reminds him their mission is to hunt a dragon, not to confront other adventurers. A flustered Rain, wrapped in a cloth, concedes she has a point. Getting ready for a disguise, Lily starts to take off her adventuring gear. A blushing Rain asks in disbelief why she's removing her clothes. She explains her plan to pose as a simple village girl. Impressed by her foresight, Rain admires her preparedness. He assumes she must have a special disguise for such situations. She reveals a casual outfit, prompting his blunt remark that her taste is dull. A man approaches Rain, introducing himself as Cornelius from the Beast King's fan guild. Cornelius asks what Rain and his companion are doing in such a desolate area. Feigning confusion, Rain begins a tale about his father's death anniversary. A sharp profile reveals someone intensely focused, interrupted by a sudden shout. An adventurer casually inquires if the young woman is indeed the renowned Lily Framble. She wearily responds that many people often mention her striking resemblance. Frustration spills over as she loudly complains about being confused for the adventurer. Cornelius examines her closely, his gaze skeptical and narrowed. Rain, her companion, claims she's merely an old schoolmate visiting with him. She keeps up her act, eyes closed, wearing a slightly annoyed expression. Cornelius presses on, asking if her name is also Lily, to which she nervously nods. She asserts she's just an ordinary girl from a small town, unlike the adventurer. With a condescending chuckle, Cornelius agrees that the real Lily wouldn't be here. He cruelly spreads a rumor that Lily Framble has nightly accidents from fear. Raina's expression twists in anger as he begins to shout a protest. The woman quickly whispers to him, reminding him to act friendly, as planned. She insists the insult doesn't bother her and firmly tells him to keep his cool. The scene shifts back to a haunting memory, starting with Rain's name being called. In the past, Cornelius looms over two kneeling figures, asking Rain if he recognizes them. A younger, timid Rain nervously denies knowing the two captives. Cornelius coldly explains they belong to another guild and are receiving a lesson. He casually mentions that 3 more of their comrades have already perished on the way. The 2 kneeling adventurers confirm this with terrified sobs, tears streaming down. From afar, Rain pleads for their freedom, pointing out their evident fear. Cornelius dismisses his plea, cruelly stating it's still too early for mercy. One captive's face twists in sheer, unfiltered terror. Overwhelmed, the man screams he can't endure it any longer and bolts. An archer from Cornelius's group calmly readies to shoot the fleeing captive. Rain cries out in alarm, struggling to grasp what's about to unfold. The archer releases his arrow, hitting the fleeing man squarely in the back. Raina's face is a mask of shock and horrified disbelief. Cornelius observes the execution with grim satisfaction, confirming his suspicions. He begins to complain that his bow's performance has been declining lately. The adventurer adds that it's not just him. Everyone's gear has been faltering. With a frustrated grimace, he blames their faulty equipment for the party's recent failures. He unleashes his fury, violently striking the remaining kneeling adventurer. From a distance, Rain and Lily can only watch the brutal scene unfold, powerless. A young man's face twists in shock and utter confusion. Cornelius orders the newly arrived Rain to bolster his party's equipment. Stammering, Rain struggles to respond as Lily gasps beside him. His companion quickly interjects, telling Cornelius that Rain can't use his magic. From a distance, she explains that he might be feeling unwell. Cornelius's expression hardens as he menacingly demands clarification. Both Rain and Lily watch with serious expressions. Suddenly, Cornelius erupts in rage, calling Rain a worthless bum. As Rain begins to protest, Lily sharply calls his name, silencing him. She shifts the topic, telling him to dig graves if he can't reinforce. A close-up reveals deep worry etched in Rain's eyes. Lily explains the practical need to bury the bodies to prevent attracting beasts. Impressed, Cornelius calls her a clever girl before making a crude suggestion. With a shovel in hand, she walks away, coldly rejecting his unwanted advance. The cruel man sneers at Raina, telling him to learn from her. Rain can only watch, his profile revealing shame and helplessness. In the vast wasteland, the sound of digging echoes faintly. As she works, Lily cautions Ryan that they narrowly avoided disaster. She voices her worry that a brawl could have easily erupted. In a fit of anger, Ryan drives his shovel forcefully into the earth. With his back to her, he quietly offers Lily a sincere apology. She glances over, questioning what he feels sorry about. He admits he's unaware of the terrible deeds committed by his old guild. Feeling miserable, he regrets involving her in his troubles. Lily gazes at him, her expression filled with concern and understanding. Together, she comforts him, insisting it's not his fault. Rain accepts her soothing words, though his mood remains somber. She contrasts his struggles with her own 2 years of self-imposed solitude. He manages a bitter chuckle, agreeing with her take on things. However, his agreement earns him a sharp, irritated glare from her. She tells him to stop lying, as it only makes her want to hit him. Rain decides it's best to just listen for now to avoid conflict. From a ridge, they acknowledge the strength of Cornelius and his crew. Ron remembers that Cornelius's team ranks among the top 3 in their guild. With worry etched on her face, Lily confesses her doubts about winning. Surveying the vast terrain, she raises the larger issue of the aftermath. She clarifies that their small guild would face the Beast King's formidable forces. A troubled, shirtless Rain thinks of his female guildmates, burdened by responsibility. Alone, Lily concludes that in a full-scale guild war, they stand no chance. The 2 adventurers stand apart, knowing they must steer clear of trouble. In profile, Rain reflects that being an adventurer is more than just fun. Lily agrees, admitting that the constant need to deceive is tougher than expected. They acknowledge their powerlessness, aware of the vast gap between the guilds. Cornelius's group casually leaves the campsite, one asking if they're finished. A sudden shout of alarm escapes Rain as he realizes what has occurred. His supplies are gone and scattered. He angrily demands to know why. Cornelius casually explains they took the items simply because they were there. Rain stares, utterly stunned by the man's blatant arrogance. His expression shifts as a memory seems to resurface. In a flashback, Lily gently asks if he's happy about joining the Blue Crystal. His face in the memory shows a moment of genuine contemplation. He then smiles brightly, affirming that he is indeed very pleased with his choice. Back in the present, Lily offers him something, prompting his inquiry. She presents a piece of jerky, which he notes looks quite exotic. Over a crackling fire, she giggles, assuring him it tastes great. The serene scene is punctuated by birds soaring across a tranquil sky. Suddenly, a powerful fist collides with Rain's face in a brutal surprise attack. As he sprawls on the ground, he yells in pain, demanding to know why. Cornelius looms over him, smugly declaring his intention to take the girl. Completely stunned, Rain can only stutter, unable to grasp the shocking claim. Cornelius reveals he knows Rain is banned from using reinforcement magic. With a sinister grin, he offers to keep the violation secret for Lily. He frames the cruel offer as a mutually beneficial arrangement. His voice resonates, urging Ryan to make a wise choice for his guild and friends. Rain looks utterly bewildered, his face a mask of conflict as he questions the term friends. Lily observes the tense standoff, her own face betraying deep fear and concern. A shirtless Rain wrapped in cloth expresses resignation as his companion outlines their simple path forward. In a bold move, a shirtless Rain scoops Lily up, declaring he won't surrender her. Lily's face up close shows a mix of surprise and disbelief at his sudden protective hold. Raina's face shifts abruptly, pain and shock evident as he cries out. Now on the ground, Lily gazes up, questioning her companion about his strange behavior. Suddenly, she is hurled backward, crying out as she crashes onto the dusty ground. From her position in the dirt, she angrily demands to know why he let her fall. He apologizes, claiming she was heavier than expected, and she snaps back that his arms are like spaghetti. Kneeling beside her, Rain earnestly assures Lily he could never betray her to their foes. Lily meets his gaze, her surprise deepening at the sincerity of his words. He reminds her how their entire group cared for her when she refused to leave her bed. With unwavering confidence, he asserts their friends would come to her aid, no matter the cost. He argues that since Cornelius has threatened her, he won't accept a refusal. Rising to his feet, Rain declares they have no option left but to fight. A serene smile spreads across his face as he contemplates finally being a true adventurer. In the distance, an enemy archer calls out his name, recognizing his familiar bravado. The archer warns him that fleeing is futile. Her arrow can still find him. Rain turns his head slightly, acknowledging the threat from afar. He shouts to everyone that he is no longer part of the Beast King's fangs. With a fierce gaze, he proclaims he has nullified the reinforcement on all their gear. Cornelius reacts with shock, questioning what he just heard. His companions realize this is why they failed to complete their mission. Cornelius grips his now dulled sword, fuming that their failure is Rain's doing. He angrily vows to force Rain to recast the reinforcement spell on their equipment. Unfazed, Rain calmly states he has his own weapon ready for them. He cheerfully reveals his chosen projectiles, a handful of glowing pebbles. The opposing adventurer scoffs, ridiculing the notion that mere pebbles could pose a threat. Rain's expression remains steady and focused as he prepares to unleash his assault. A tremendous explosion erupts before the enemy group, stunning them with its power. One adventurer stammers in disbelief, realizing the rocks themselves had detonated. Rain clarifies that the rocks didn't just explode on their own. Standing next to the new crater, he explains he reinforced them to create a massive impact. His opponents are left speechless, one of them calling the spectacle an unbelievable prank. Cornelius regains his arrogant demeanor, smirking that they just need to dodge. With a confident stride, he steps onto the ground, littered with pebbles. A sudden jolt of pain flashes across his face as his foot connects. He screams in agony, clutching his foot in intense distress. Rain calmly asks if he just happened to step on one of the rocks he tossed. Cornelius looks up, his face twisted in pain and confusion. The young magician explains the effect isn't limited to being thrown. They also act as caltrops. He concludes firmly that they are no longer just ordinary stones. A dynamic panel highlights the word rocks, showing them scattered all around. An illustration clarifies that rocks are a basic, universal weapon for striking or throwing. Reina's narration notes that typically, larger rocks are needed to cause harm. However, with his unique enhancement, even the tiniest rocks become lethal weapons. Cornelius and his allies stare in disbelief, unable to grasp their situation. The enemy group begins to retreat, questioning if Rain's magic was always this formidable. Rain warns them that there are plenty more rocks where those came from. He tells Cornelius that if he still wants to fight, he will unleash everything on him. Clearly intimidated, Cornelius flinches and starts to back away from the confrontation. Rain and Lily watch silently as their foes finally turn and flee. One of the fleeing adventurers mentions they won't face an ambush and proposes returning. With danger past, Reina kneels, declaring he needs to gather the points from the stones. He gazes in astonishment at the scattered, shattered bits of pebbles littering the ground. It dawns on him, they're disintegrating, meaning they're only usable once. Lily clarifies that this is why he must seek out robust gear for reinforcement. She reflects that while inexpensive swords shatter easily, a truly durable one comes at a high price. Rain grins enigmatically, suggesting this limitation might not be entirely negative. Her confusion is evident as Lily stares at him, puzzled by his strange comment. Together, Rain remarks on how adventurers often fret over their equipment. He offers to enhance Lily's sword, but she resolutely declines his assistance. Recognizing her determination, he listens as she states her urgent need for a new weapon. Lily's face radiates resolve. Her choice is unmistakably made. A close-up of her eye highlights her steadfast and serious intent. Rain hints he might know of a legendary sword capable of withstanding his power. The scene transitions to the towering sharp spires of a castle or guild hall. Inside, Guildmaster Barrios demands to know what his adventurers are discussing. The defeated group pleads for him to trust their tale, blaming someone named Rain. A female adventurer angrily asserts that Rain is entirely to blame for their failure. Barrios remains doubtful, finding their accusations about Rain hard to accept. His vice guildmaster Glenda bursts into the room, calling out to him. She reports that she has examined their gear and their story seems credible. Glenda confirms to the entire guild that Rain has released all the reinforcement points. Barrios listens grimly to the news, a bead of sweat trickling down his brow. He suddenly remembers Glenda mentioning a girl resembling Lily Framble. His eyes widen in sudden realization, questioning if it was indeed the real Lily. Glenda's closed eyes and tense demeanor seem to validate his growing suspicion. The adventurers speculate that this implies Rain and Lily are part of the same guild. Glenda's expression hardens at their naive and simplistic assumption. The male adventurer is taken aback by her sudden intensity. She reveals that the guild master is actually furious, despite his calm facade. With stern authority, she commands them to locate Raynon and Lily's guild immediately. Later, she finds Barrios slumped at his desk, embodying stress and frustration. She insists they must retrieve Rain to teach him a lesson and safeguard their reputation. Miles away, Rain defiantly tells Lily they need to show their foes the consequences. The two adventurers finally return to their hometown as a new chapter unfolds. Rain remarks that defeating the middle-class dragon they were assigned took quite a while. He turns to his companion, inquiring about her first quest in 2 years. Lily gazes towards the town, her expression distant and deeply contemplative. She confesses that when they initially departed, she was ready to die on the mission. However, she continues, thanks to Ryan's presence, she avoided that fate. She feels he was the one who truly aided her, though he seems baffled by her words. A soft, gentle smile graces her lips as she admits the quest wasn't so bad. Rain smiles back, realizing she means it was actually a wonderful experience. A mocking voice suddenly interrupts, claiming to have heard the voice of her heart. Startled by the interruption, both Rain and Lily turn to face the source. A large, muscular dog on a leash greets them, its owner saying it has been a while. A woman named Margaret smirks at them, commenting that Lily seems to be enjoying herself. Lily's face drains of color as shock and recognition wash over her, whispering Margaret's name. Margaret asks if this means she has forgotten everything about a place called Gadriza. Stunned into silence, Lily can only stammer, utterly at a loss for words. Worry and deep unease mar Lily's features. Spotting a peculiar woman with a dog, Rain inquires about Lily's distress. From afar, Lily finds it hard to clarify who the newcomer is. Margaret offers a faint smile, confirming Rain's identity. His inquiry exposes their mutual shock at her knowledge of him. Margaret reveals that the Beast King's fangs are actively hunting them. The mention of his old guild sends a wave of alarm through them. Rainey probes her intentions, questioning if she is on their side. With a composed smile, Margaret suggests Ray knows Lily better than she does. Her demeanor shifts, taking on a tone of serious gravity. She issues a chilling warning that Lily could betray him, risking his life. Rain stands there, utterly shocked and bewildered by her foreboding words. A look of pain and guilt washes over Lily as she remains quiet. Margaret bids Lily goodbye, wishing for her to be even more miserable next time. As she leaves, Rain ponders her strange and unfriendly demeanor. The two adventurers are left feeling anxious and tense after their encounter. Noticing Lily's distress, Raina gently suggests they return to the guild. They stroll together through the seemingly calm and quiet town streets. From a high point, Rain senses something is off about the town. He observes the absence of tension, expecting a search from his former guild. Convinced there's no danger, he concludes that Margaret must be lying. Their journey concludes as they reach the entrance of the Blue Crystal Guild Hall. Inside, receptionist Nina greets them, astonished they actually defeated the dragon. Rain quickly asks Nina if she has any news about the fangs. With a reassuring smile, Nina assures them they are safe for now. Her confident response leaves Rain looking surprised and a bit puzzled. Guildmaster Elsa Say appears, confirming the fangs had been trying to capture them. She explains that a lot of chaos has recently erupted within the rival guild. Elsa recounts how their equipment was compromised and Cornelius fell to Ren. The shock from these events was so intense that many members abandoned the fangs. She concludes that the fangs are too preoccupied with damage control to pursue them. Rain absorbs the news with a serious and contemplative expression. Feeling relieved, Lily decides to head to her room for some rest. As Lily walks away, Elsie advises her to stay vigilant, just in case. A sharp sound effect punctuates a sudden change in the conversation's tone. Else turns to Rain, asking him to confirm he truly defeated Cornelius. Nina expresses her astonishment at his strength, which he credits to his reinforcement magic. Elsie's expression turns serious as she inquires about a place named Gadresa. She calmly asks where they might have heard that specific name. Rain explains they learned it from Margaret upon entering the town. Both Nina and Elsie instantly recognize the name Margaret. With a sorrowful expression, Elsie reveals that Margaret is a grieving family member. The weight of her revelation lingers in the air, creating a somber atmosphere. Elsie explains that Gadresas were the last foes Lily faced, which is why Margaret can't. A flashback begins, depicting a group of adventurers strategizing an expedition. One of them points to a map, indicating their target is the deepest region. Lily confidently remarks that dragons have guarded those infamous ruins for 3 centuries. Before the ruins, the party's leader expresses confidence in their ability to manage it. A violent memory intrudes, showing a comrade spitting blood during battle. Another adventurer is shown collapsing amidst the chaos of the fight. A man's anguished scream echoes, hinting at the impending disaster. The focus changes to a town where someone urgently calls out for Lily. Young Margaret confronts Lily, bandaged and demanding to know her sister's whereabouts. Tears welling up, Lily can only manage a choked apology to Margaret. She cries out that everyone in the group perished during the mission. Margaret, in tears, accuses Lily, wishing she had been the one to die. In the present, Lily lies in bed, murmuring apologies, even in her dreams. Her pained murmurs fade into the stillness of her room. A question arises about what exactly Lily's team sought in Gadreja. The legendary phosphorescent Dragon Emperor sword is unveiled in all its splendor. Reyna's face lights up with recognition at the mention of the mythical weapon. He inquires if that was their target, seeking affirmation. He remembers Lily only mentioned its name and that it could resist his magic. Elsie sadly concludes that Lily still can't confront her painful history. She calls out to Lily, who stands silently in a nearby doorway. With determination, Lily declares her intention to venture out again. Rain offers to accompany her, but Lily curtly declines his assistance. Elsie cautions Lily about the danger, reminding her of the Beast King's fangs. Lily bows her head, seemingly weighed down by the warning yet resolute. As they exit the town, Rain asks where they're headed, but Lily snaps for silence. They arrive at a modest, unfamiliar house. Rain glances at the building, questioning whose home it is. A small, fierce-looking dog is chained outside the house. With concern, Lily realizes this is Margaret's residence. A puzzled Rain wonders what business they could have with her. Lily reminds Rain that he had inquired about Gudrisa earlier. She explains she overheard him since the guild's walls are paper-thin. With a pained look, Lily admits she can't recall that time. Rain presses her, asking if she remembers nothing from that event. All she recalls is an overwhelming sense of helplessness and fear. The next thing she knew, she was in bed, told her team had perished. Lily concludes with self-hatred, believing she must have fled and abandoned them. Rain attempts to console her, suggesting it might just be her imagination. Lily's expression hardens, rejecting his attempt to comfort her. She asserts she always knew she would have to return for the truth. She apologizes to Ryan for dragging him into such a personal issue. She explains her only option is the sword that can withstand his magic. Rain reassures her, suggesting he retrieve the sword while she uncovers the truth. He promises that with his reinforcement ability, they won't die. Lily regards him thoughtfully before quietly agreeing to his plan. She states that before they leave, she must speak with Margaret. Rainey encourages her to be courageous and face the difficult confrontation. Lily's face reflects a nervous yet firm determination. She forcefully pushes open the door to Margaret's house. Inside, the room is empty except for a framed photo on a dresser. A single flower rests in a simple vase on a small, bare table. A neatly made bed is the only other furniture in the sparse room. They both realize that Margaret is not home. The scene transitions to the pointed rooftops of another area in town. An unseen figure greets Margaret, recognizing her as a promising B-rank candidate. A young woman with dark locks gives a faint, polite smile, expressing her thanks. Behind a large desk, a stout man introduces himself as Barrios, the guild leader. He presumes she wishes to switch guilds and eagerly offers her special privileges. The woman calmly corrects him, clarifying that's not her intention here. With a tranquil smile, she inquires if he plans to kill Lily and Rain. Barrios stands utterly dumbfounded, taken aback by her bold and direct inquiry. She points out that while he targets the duo, his men are hesitating. Surveying the messy room, she expresses her disappointment in his guild's actions. She explains she thought she could assist him in making Lily miserable. Barrios remains completely confused, struggling to grasp the conversation's shift. The woman questions how Lily can laugh as if the past is forgotten. This is unacceptable, she proclaims, as her sister's body lies in cold ruins. Leaning in, she angrily challenges Lily's nerve to be a cheerful adventurer. She vows that Lily Framble must never embark on adventures again to honor her sister. Barrios listens quietly, his expression changing as he reflects on her passionate words. He confides that his guild is in dire straits and desperately needs a new magician. Later, Margaret is seen walking alone down a quiet street in town. She finds Lily at her home and greets her with a cool, unreadable face. Lily and Ryan watch cautiously as Margaret asks why they have come. Inside, a simple table is set with cups and a pitcher for their tense discussion. Lily expresses her gratitude to Margaret for welcoming them into her home. The mood remains tense. Margaret smiles, asking how she can assist so they can wrap up their business swiftly. A look of surprise flashes across Lily's face as she prepares to share her news. She discloses her plan to travel to Gudrisa with Reyna, leaving Margaret speechless. Lily articulates her strong desire to uncover the truth about the past. A slight knowing smile forms on Margaret's lips as she absorbs the plan. Margaret immediately accuses Lily of abandoning her sister to save herself. Lily concedes it might be true, but insists she needs to discover the truth herself. She expresses profound shame and apologizes for never providing an explanation. As the team leader, she feels compelled to return to Gudrisa to take responsibility. Margaret listens silently, her expression inscrutable as she processes Lily's admission. She acknowledges Lily's reasoning with a soft, seemingly empathetic look. Margaret then admits she has been quite harsh to Lily for a long time. Surprised, Lily states that she doesn't mind and it doesn't trouble her. A gentle, perhaps relieved smile graces Margaret's lips at Lily's reaction. After a moment's thought, Margaret addresses both Lily and Rain by name. She asks if she can join them on their journey, catching them off guard. Rain and Lily exchange glances, fully aware of the risks involved in such a quest. Margaret explains she must also take responsibility for her sister's sake. She admits she can't let go of her resentment, but needs to witness her sister's final moments. Rain and Lily share a look, and Rain expresses he would welcome her company. Lily consents to the arrangement, accepting Margaret into their uneasy group. Rain observes that having a B-rank adventurer like Margaret would be reassuring. Margaret gives them a genuine warm smile, thanking them for their acceptance. Later, Margaret notes that the tea has gone cold and offers to reheat it. An irritated Lily watches as the pleasant atmosphere seems to be fading. Rain encourages Lily, assuring her they will do their utmost, and she quietly agrees. Rain suggests they should ensure Margaret gets home safely, leaving Lily puzzled. He confidently asserts that he knows everyone will return safely from the quest. A silver teapot rests on the counter, the room otherwise quiet and still. Margaret stands at the counter, calling out for Lily while facing away. Her demeanor shifts to icy and threatening as thoughts of Lily's demise at Gadreza cross her mind. The narrative unveils the fabled weapon, the phosphorescent Dragon Emperor sword. This legendary blade is rumored to radiate light and harness the essence of a dragon. Nestled within the ruins of Gadreza, it is protected by a formidable dragon. For over 3 centuries, no adventurer has triumphed over this guardian. Later that evening, a restless Rain sits up in bed, unable to find sleep. Worry lines his face as he contemplates the daunting quest ahead. The burden of their perilous and unpredictable mission clearly weighs on him. He remembers the tale of how S-Class adventurer Lily fell to an unknown foe. The most heartbreaking detail he recalls is that all her companions perished. Rising from bed, he ponders what kind of adversary could inflict such devastation. He understands that regardless of the danger, Lily is resolute in her decision to go. He also realizes that if Lily ventures forth, Margaret will undoubtedly follow. Overwhelmed by anxiety, he opens his door and steps into the night. Alone on a silent, deserted street, the town lies in slumber around him. A faint sound from the rooftops piques his interest, heightening his alertness. He listens closely, a bead of sweat trickling down his cheek, sensing something lurking. He calls out into the stillness, asking if anyone is present. Silence is the only reply, emanating from a shadowy, narrow alley nearby. Standing there, he contemplates what actions he must take to ensure their safe return. Suddenly, a strange, glowing aura envelops him as he remains in the street. From afar, he appears as a solitary silhouette in the desolate alley. An unseen figure inquires if that is Rain, and another confirms it is indeed him. The second voice mentions that Rain is yet another target they must handle. The following day, the group starts to assemble for their departure from the town. Margaret greets Lily with a bright good morning, her expression perfectly cheerful. Lily reciprocates the greeting, though her face betrays a hint of fatigue. Lillian informs Margaret that Rain wishes to hold a meeting before they set off. Margaret consents but expresses slight irritation at using a private residence for the meeting. Inside, a third girl gestures for Lily to take a seat while they wait. Margaret's expression hardens as she clutches a small knife tightly. She holds an apple, the knife poised as if ready to slice. Positioned back to back with the unsuspecting Lily, her true motives remain concealed. Though the two women are close, Margaret's thoughts are anything but friendly. Her inner thoughts reveal a violent urge to sever Lily's head. She also imagines slitting her throat, her grip on the knife tightening. Her hands shake with repressed fury, yet she forces herself to hold back. Deciding it's not the right moment, she opts to slice the apple instead of her target. She reassures herself that it's still too early to act on her murderous impulses. Offering the sliced apple to Lily, she receives a grateful response. Beneath her pleasant facade, Margaret plots to eliminate Lily after confronting her at the ruins. Later, the 3 adventurers are seen gathered around a table for their meeting. Rain starts by admitting he has been too carefree about matters until this point. Both Margaret and Lily are taken aback, questioning why he brings this up now. He explains that he has been joking and avoiding the seriousness of life. Margaret inquires when he came to this realization. Her curiosity piqued. Rain confirms that this shift in perspective happened just the previous night. He admits he had no genuine reason for choosing to be a reinforcement magician. He suspects he subconsciously opted for the path with less responsibility. A discussion starts regarding how an adventurer's choices might endanger others. Margaret wonders internally if Rain is a rookie while Lily observes. Rain admits his dread of losing both of them in the perilous ruins of Driza. Lily concedes that she should no longer be adventuring due to the risks. Despite her doubts, she asserts her firm determination to head to Gatresa. Margaret declares she will join as well, needing answers about her sister's death. An anxious Rain points out that their ambitions will fail if they perish. His logical reasoning leaves the two women momentarily speechless. He cautions against being caught off guard before making a formal request. Rain surprises them by proposing to take charge of the expedition. Margaret smirks, teasingly labeling him the biggest novice present. He admits he needs their expertise and guidance. Rain argues he can maintain a cooler demeanor and make the final calls. Lily inquires if his leadership implies they must adhere to a retreat order. He confirms. He reassures them that they can always regroup if they need to fall back. Lily contemplates his offer in silence while Margaret observes her. Margaret steps back, stating the ultimate choice lies with the other two. After some deliberation, Lily officially consents to his leadership. Taking the lead, Rain cheerfully instructs them to lay all their gear on the table. The two women are taken aback, completely caught off guard by his initial command. Margaret protests angrily, insisting she doesn't require his assistance. With her hand on the table, she firmly tells him to halt. He clarifies that he needs to reinforce their armor, but they can choose their weapons. Rain insists this is his call as leader to guarantee their survival. Lily knowingly questions if this was his true intention, and he simply agrees. A brief moment of quiet acceptance passes between them. Margaret watches in shock as he works on Lily's armor. He proudly announces that he has given Lily's armor an astonishing plus 300 reinforcement. Margaret is completely astonished by the impossibly high figure. She reflects that even top-tier magicians can only achieve plus 3 or plus 5. Rain then turns to Margaret, asking to inspect her armor next. Margaret remains silent, still processing the extent of his power. She coldly asserts her principle of never being indebted to anyone. He explains it's not just for her alone, but support for their team. With a genuine smile, he adds that it's also because they are friends. The term friends catches Margaret off guard, provoking a negative response. She questions the very idea of friendship. Margaret remembers her sister's belief in friends, but they all perished. She coldly states that those you depend on might just abandon you. Lily's expression reveals her discomfort at Margaret's pointed remarks. With a hardened look, Margaret declares she has no need for friends. Rain watches on, puzzled and concerned by her sudden proclamation. Margaret declares that their discussion has reached its conclusion. She instructs them to return home, saying she'll see them at departure. A stunned silence envelops Rain and Lily. Margaret spins around, angrily shouting at them to leave. Castle spires loom against a cloudy daytime sky. Later, the same towers are silhouetted against the moonlit night. Alone in her room, Margaret sits with her sword, feeling melancholic. Her expression bears the weight of sorrowful memories and determination. A vivid memory emerges of her standing solitary in a barren expanse. Once a gentlewoman inquired if she wished to share a hot pot meal. Margaret graciously declines, thanking her but opting for solitude. Another traveler remarks on her loneliness during their journey together. Margaret ponders the notion of them all dining on the same dish. With an odd grin, she questions what would occur if the food were tainted. The memory of her strange refusal lingers in the atmosphere. Her former ally remembers feeling exasperated, labeling Margaret as obstinate. The blonde figure from her recollection cautions that her seclusion will render her powerless. As the memory dissipates, Margaret's face hardens. In the present, she starts practicing her sword swings in isolation. Her thoughts darken, recalling how many adventurers met their end. She remembers a foolish mistake by a girl that cost 2 friends their lives. She thinks friends bring joy but ultimately become a burden. Margaret contemplates that she has always been her own savior. In a corner of her room, empty pet bowls and a leash sit neglected. The abandoned leash is shown closely, a reminder of past grief. A noise at her door disrupts her solitude. Rain appears at her entrance, greeting her with a bright smile. He calls her name with warmth, his demeanor friendly. Margaret is taken aback, questioning his presence. He reveals he has been waiting for her arrival. As twilight descends, he mentions his weight, surprising her. He felt it necessary to enhance her armor as well. Margaret glances down, her face a blend of doubt and confusion. Rain inquires if she can hold on while he makes the enhancements. With a hint of annoyance and acceptance, she nods silently. They stand together in the workshop as he begins his work. He announces completion, confirming her armor is now enhanced by 300. Rain observes as Margaret instantly tests the armor. She strikes the piece repeatedly, her blade bouncing off without effect. The reinforced armor piece rests on the table, completely intact. She inspects it closely, noting not a single scratch. Margaret reassures herself that it is indeed reinforced to plus 300. Rain eagerly asks for her thoughts on its effectiveness. Her internal monologue turns grim. She thinks this is troubling. She realizes if Lily's armor is this robust, killing her will be impossible. With a new strategy in mind, she requests Rain to enhance her sword too. She approaches Rain, who looks taken aback by her request. Margaret calls out to Rain, capturing his attention. She offers him a piece of her spare armor as a token of gratitude. She asserts she doesn't desire friends and wishes to owe no one. Rain watches her with a gentle, slightly melancholic smile of understanding. As she departs, he bids her a friendly farewell. A brilliant flash of energy marks the sword enhancement. Back in her room, Margaret holds her glowing, newly empowered blade. The spare armor she gifted to Rain rests on the table. With a cold gaze, she schemes to eliminate Lily during their quest. Her plotting is interrupted by a sound from her doorway. A woman's voice inquires if Rain left something behind. A lanky man towers over a small, childlike figure beside him. A woman names him as Cornelius, a member of the Fangs of the Beast King. She discloses the guild's scheme to capture Rain and imprison him for his powers. Cornelius thinks Raina's skills will lure back their members who have deserted. Margaret, a woman, listens to their scheme with a sly grin. She challenges Cornelius's relentless chase of Rain, reminding him of his past failures. He suggests she join them, but she brushes him off as weak. Irritated, Cornelius tells her that another ally is approaching. Margaret hopes this newcomer will be formidable. A door creaks open, signaling someone's arrival. Spotting the newcomer, Margaret confidently declares they can now capture Reno. The newcomer is a young individual named Mirabelle, much to Glenda's dismay. Glenda's face twists in shock and anger at the sight. She confronts Cornelius, demanding to know who the child is since she hired an assassin. Margaret, surprised, wonders aloud about the assassin's identity. Glenda dismisses the plan, convinced a child could never defeat Lily. In a flash, Mirabelle launches a swift attack. Cornelius falls, a deadly wound bursting from his chest. Glenda collapses, injured and bewildered, questioning what's happening. Mirabelle declares they no longer care about the fangs of the Beast King. Their sole aim, they assert, is to eliminate both Rain and Lily. This action stems from a desire to stop being looked down upon. Recognizing their talent, Margaret formally requests the assassination of Rain and Lily. She offers a pouch of coins as compensation for the lethal task. An accomplice agrees to handle Cornelius's body for Margaret. Mirabelle accepts, insisting Margaret stay out of her way when killing Lily. Margaret offers to disclose everything about Rain and Lily's plans. The accomplice acknowledges her rivalry with Lily, promising not to interfere. Now, he and Mirabelle confirm their main target is to take out Rainin. Later, the trio of Rain, Margaret, and Lily travels together. Rain gazes ahead, a mix of awe and anxiety announcing their arrival. Lily stares ahead, her face serious and grim as they approach their goal. With a confident grin, Margaret acknowledges they have reached the ruins. Three adventurers stand before the grand ruins of the Light Dragon in Gadreza. From afar, the group takes in the vast temple, noting its colossal size. A woman with a high ponytail observes, her expression somber and worried. Lily apologizes to Margaret, claiming she has forgotten everything about the treacherous ruins. She elaborates, saying she only remembers feelings of despair and helplessness. Margaret responds non-committally, her tone hinting at disbelief in Lily's story. With a bright demeanor, Margaret announces it's time to venture inside. As they step into the grand hall, Margaret finds the situation absurd. Descending a broad staircase, she wonders if Lily truly remembers nothing. Rain's face radiates awe as he absorbs the dungeon's atmosphere. His companion warns him not to look around too fast, or he might hurt himself. Margaret observes the interaction with a stern, unimpressed expression. Her inner thoughts reveal she still believes Lily abandoned her comrades. The ponytail-wearing woman turns to Rain, seeking his thoughts on the situation. Looking sincere, Rain asserts he doesn't believe the accusation holds water. The woman expresses hope that they can all coexist until the truth emerges. Margaret, hearing the suggestion of friendship, looks away, surprised and annoyed. Her face tightens, filled with doubt and annoyance at the peace overture. The woman reminds Margaret of her sister's friendship with Lily, hinting at a link. Lily looks frazzled and uneasy during the charged discussion about her history. Margaret starts to confront Lily, bringing up the whispers she's heard about her fighting skills. She questions Lily, insisting that her presence here must disprove the rumors. Lily, looking worried, struggles to respond to the pointed accusation. Rain intervenes, explaining that Lily is indeed traumatized and can't even wield a sword. He clarifies their collaboration, stating that Lily shares her insights with him as a novice. Margaret listens quietly before voicing her deep disappointment in the situation. Disgusted, she turns her back on the group and walks away. Internally, she can't believe Lily showed up despite her inability to fight. Frustrated, she mentally dismisses both Rain and Lily as total fools. With a bitter expression, she concludes that she's the only one taking this seriously. After turning a corner alone, Margaret suddenly halts, sensing imminent danger. A huge, threatening swarm of armed goblins completely blocks her way. With a confident grin, she brushes off the creatures as mere dungeon fodder. Margaret smirks, dismissing her unseen enemies and defiantly inviting them to attack. A horde of hideous goblins shrieks in rage, brandishing crude knives as they charge. A fierce grin spreads across Margaret's face as she anticipates the upcoming fight. She dives into the chaos, her blade slicing through a goblin with brutal force. Using sheer strength, she pushes another goblin back, creating a gap in the turmoil. Her sword gleams as she expertly deflects an attack from a monstrous enemy. Resourcefully, she uses her large backpack to block a blow. Her thoughts reveal a lifelong dream to conquer this dungeon once she reaches a rank. She reflects on arriving early, driven by suspicions about Lily concealing her past. After observing her companion, she internally labels Lily as nothing but a coward. Having delved deep into the dungeon, her determination to continue only grows. She declares her intent to forge ahead, even if it means facing danger alone. A sudden realization hits her, her expression shifting to one of shock. She finds herself entirely encircled by the swarm of spear-wielding goblins. Her face twists in alarm as she grasps the severity of her predicament. She scolds herself internally, realizing she should have caught a vital detail earlier. She recognizes these goblins are fearless and will even turn on each other to reach her. Horrified, she concludes that this reckless tactic is why the dungeon is considered impenetrable. The battle escalates with the clash of steel and monstrous roars of aggression. Lily throws herself to the ground, shielding Margaret from the goblin onslaught. Using her own body and pack as a shield, Lily protects her defenseless friend. Stunned by the act of selflessness, Margaret calls out Lily's name in disbelief. Rains yells at the two women, urgently instructing them to stay down and not move. With a small blade in hand, he rushes toward his endangered friends with resolve. His face is a mask of concentration as he prepares to unleash a powerful strike. A massive shockwave erupts from him, sending the entire goblin horde flying. The devastating attack leaves a huge crater in a field of debris. Amidst the wreckage, Lily calls out to Margaret, who sits beside her, dazed. Lily explains she rushed over, fearing Margaret's armor wouldn't withstand the blows. Margaret stares back, her face a mask of utter confusion at Lily's actions. Still processing, she wonders how Lily managed to move at all. Looking slightly embarrassed, Lily emits a small sound of surprise at the question. Margaret voices her confusion, having thought Lily was too traumatized to act. A woman with pointed ears sweats as a shocking realization washes over her face. Lily shares her wish that Margaret will be able to handle a sword next time. With determination, Lily vows to give fighting another shot. A hand extends toward the exhausted, still kneeling Margaret. In a significant act of reconciliation, Lily assists Margaret in standing. Their friend Ron observes the two women reconciling with a warm smile. The ponytailed woman proposes that they should all move forward together from now on. Lily nods, agreeing that the idea of unity resonates with her. Suddenly, Rain's gaze shifts, drawn by an unseen commotion. A voice calls out his name from off-panel, curious about his distraction. He informs his friends that he heard an unusual noise nearby. Rain's gaze focuses on a large, fractured section of the ancient dungeon wall. Margaret starts to question the remarkable power of Rain's sword. Rain urgently gestures for silence, placing a finger to his lips. The sound of crumbling stone fills the air as dust begins to settle. An ominous creaking reverberates through the chamber as the wall begins to collapse. The three adventurers stand in stunned silence, sensing the looming threat. As the tunnel crumbles around them, Raina yells for everyone to flee. Margaret shouts at Ryan, demanding to know the incredible reinforcement level of his sword. A flustered Rain stammers, attempting to clarify his weapon's unique features. From the dust, a small, agile goblin appears, charging with a crude knife. A larger, brutish goblin follows as Lily warns Ren of the threat behind them. He turns in shock just as Lily urgently repeats her warning. The brutish goblin's face is a mask of mindless rage as it charges. In a moment of sheer terror, Rainy drops his sword. He thrusts his empty hand forward, desperation etched on his face. His other hand is clenched, poised for an unknown last-ditch effort. The small goblin leaps, shouting a death threat as it descends. A sharp rock spike bursts from the ground, impaling the creature mid-leap. The larger goblin is brutally crushed by a barrage of similar stone spikes. Its face twists in a final silent scream of unimaginable agony. Reno looks horrified as his friends shield his eyes from the gruesome scene. The group continues their frantic flight through the collapsing corridor. Finding a brief moment of safety, Rain collapses in relief, while Lily notes their disorientation. He stands, asserting that being lost doesn't alter their mission of exploration. Rain notices that Margaret isn't even winded. She claims she's trained for this. Lily watches, her face revealing quiet concern for her friend's safety. She points out that his sword is broken again and asks how many he has left. Unfazed, Ron reveals he has 20 more disposable swords ready to go. He explains that reinforcing inexpensive swords is their best tactical move right now. This was the clever plan he and Lily devised for this perilous adventure. Margaret concedes that he does think ahead, softening her earlier harsh judgment. Kneeling, Rain begins transferring reinforcement points to a new sword. Lillian and Margaret observe him with blank, patient expressions. The woman with the ponytail suggests the other two can chat while they wait. Margaret turns to Lily, her expression weary and slightly irritated by the suggestion. Amidst the ancient ruins, she asks Lily if she feels all right. Lily looks away, admitting she hasn't recalled anything yet. She turns back, assuring Margaret that she's fine and thanking her for her concern. Margaret presses on, asking if entering the ruins has sparked any memories. A shadow of deep sorrow crosses Lily's face as she ponders the question. The trio of adventurers delves deeper into a lengthy corridor, lined with enormous stone columns. In an instant, Lily's eyes widen, a flicker of recognition sparking within her. She softly states that this place feels familiar, as if she has traversed it before. Sorrow washes over her face as memories of her past comrades flood back. Margaret observes, her face a blend of curiosity and skepticism. Lily wishes that as they advance, more memories might resurface. Meanwhile, Rain is lost in contemplation, his eyes shut tight. He recalls the terror of nearly being slain by the goblin. He fears that without a powerful sword, he can't safeguard his allies. His determination solidifies. A legendary dragon sword is a must. His thoughts are interrupted when he notices a glimmer on the dungeon floor. He recognizes it as an ancient gold coin, his eyes widening in astonishment. Kneeling down, he reverently claims it as his first piece of adventure loot. With the coin in hand, he feels like a genuine adventurer at last. Lily's sharp call of his name jolts him from his victorious daydream. His companions hover over him, curious about the treasure he discovered. Lily playfully warns that hoarding treasure can spark conflicts among adventurers. Rain looks alarmed, completely misreading her teasing tone. He clutches the coin protectively, insisting they must give it to him. Lily and Margaret inspects the find, agreeing it's quite a lovely coin. Rain watches them, puzzled and anxious about their intentions. Lily proposes that he should keep it, as she owes him a debt. His confusion deepens, a question mark seemingly appearing above his head. Margaret beams, offering the coin back to him as a keepsake. Lily cautions him to be careful, as his actions could be misinterpreted. Moved by their unexpected generosity, Rain gazes at them with heartfelt gratitude. Beneath a grand archway, he expresses his sincere thanks to both of them. With the reinforcement complete, his companions agree it's time to proceed. Energized, Rain eagerly agrees to continue their journey. His progress halts once more as he spots another object on the ground. He picks up a worn piece of paper, noting this second peculiar find. His friends turn back, amused, insisting he must share this time. With a cheeky grin, Rain asks if this new find can be his too. Impatiently, they demand to know what the paper says and urge him to hurry. He unfolds the ragged paper, his expression shifting to one of seriousness. The note's crude handwriting conveys a chilling warning about Lily Framble. His face pales, replaced by an expression of pure, unfiltered horror. Lily and Margaret, unaware of the note's contents, insists he show them. Panicking, Rain stutters, trying to deflect and conceal the incriminating message. Margaret smiles, calmly urging him to let them see the note. Lily also approaches, sensing he's hiding something significant. He backs away in a frenzy, claiming he'll just keep it for now. In a desperate bluff, he puffs out his chest, boasting about his reinforced armor. Margaret effortlessly tears off his shoulder pad, shattering his false bravado. He yells for her to return it, his bluff utterly collapsing. Horror dawns on him. He never reinforced his actual clothing. The two women corner him, demanding he hand over the paper. He cries out for them to stop as they start tugging at his pants. His clothes tear away, leaving him completely exposed and screaming in shame. Margaret stares in shock, wide-eyed at the unexpected and humiliating turn of events. Lily grins victoriously, waving the note, ridiculing Rain for his pathetic attempt to conceal it. The two women sprint away as a frantic naked Rain chases them down the hallway. He quickly collapses, utterly spent, unable to keep pace with his escaping friends. Having made their getaway, Lily and Margaret get ready to finally unveil the stolen note. They both gaze in disbelief at the note's horrifying accusation against Lily Framble. Margaret's expression shifts to one of growing dread and suspicion as she absorbs the message. Confusion and fear flicker across Lily's face as she processes the incriminating words. Margaret turns to her friend, questioning if Lily was the one responsible for the murders. Panic-stricken, Lily sweats profusely, urgently begging Margaret to hold on. In the stone hall, Lily stands firm, trying to refute the horrific allegation. Margaret unsheathes her sword, her voice icy as she vows to end Lily's life. A startled cry escapes Lily as the sudden threat of violence becomes all too real. With a furious yell, Margaret lunges, swinging her sword straight at Lily. Lily evades the strike, her face a mask of shock and disbelief at the attack. From a distance, Raina shouts for Margaret to pause and halt her assault. Margaret scoffs at Rain, mocking him for being bold with only support magic. He desperately insists that he only wants to help her calm down. An unseen assailant suddenly kicks the naked Rain from behind with tremendous force. He goes flying, crying out in agony from the impact. Rain screams in shock and fear as he hurtles through the dungeon corridor. He crashes hard onto the stone floor of a different passage, far from where he started. Dazed and bewildered, he pushes himself up, questioning where he has ended up. A sense of urgency washes over him as he realizes he must rush back to them. His face tightens with concern for his friend's safety. Alone in a strange glowing corridor, he feels powerless, uncertain of his next move. He struggles to accept the note's claim that Lily could kill her friends. His expression hardens with determination. He must find a way to stop Margaret. Margaret looms over a kneeling Lily, acknowledging her impressive S-rank adventurer skills. Her demeanor is icy as she observes that Lily can evade her sword. She concedes that she expected Lily to be tough, but she has waited long enough. Lily watches her adversary cautiously, a bead of sweat tracing down her face. With a swift, determined motion, Margaret digs into her backpack. She retrieves a long, slender sword, its true purpose still unclear. In the stone dungeon, Lily stands ready, her expression tense. Margaret skeptically questions whether Lily can even wield a weapon. Lily retorts that her blade isn't intended for combat in this situation. She asserts that she came to uncover the truth and isn't ready to die. With an exasperated shout, Lily silences Margaret's objections. Margaret angrily questions if the note they read wasn't the truth. Looking dejected, Lily remembers the friends she lost in this place. Her instincts scream that something about this situation is deeply wrong. Nearby, Rain observes their escalating conflict with a worried expression. From a concealed alcove, Cornelius revels in the unfolding plan. He explains to Mirabelle that the adventurers are squabbling over a forged message. Mirabelle inquires when to eliminate Lily, but he suggests prolonging her suffering. He wants to wait until her body and spirit are utterly exhausted. Cornelius reveals his cruel scheme to finish her off at her weakest moment. Unimpressed by his sadistic plans, Mirabelle lets out a quiet sigh of disinterest. Cornelius chastises her for spoiling his fun and instructs her to hide. She agrees to be summoned when needed and quietly walks away. Left to his own devices, the villain erupts into maniacal laughter. His triumphant moment is interrupted by an unexpected presence lurking behind. He spins around, startled by the sudden appearance of someone else. A newcomer declares he has arrived just in time to confront the villain. Kanata, the newcomer, presses a dagger against Cornelius' throat, making accusations. Canada's loud call for Rainey reverberates throughout the chamber. The shout catches both Margaret and Lily off guard, pausing their fight. Later, Cornelius is shown tied up, struggling futilely against his bonds. He glares at his captors, questioning if they believe they can escape. His face twists with fury as he swears to eliminate each of them. Then he unleashes a bizarre and unsettling threat involving their pets. Rain and Lily are left utterly repulsed by his twisted obsession. Now gagged, Cornelius lies defeated as Canada reveals his findings. Canada presents 2 identical notes, proving one is a forgery. Margaret's face reflects weary shock as she processes this new information. Lily finally realizes that Cornelius was sending false messages to manipulate them. Upon inspecting the note, Lily notices the handwriting isn't from any of her old allies. The group discusses their options regarding Cornelius, ultimately deciding to take him with them. A close-up captures Margaret's profile, her expression heavy with remorse for her actions. Facing her companions, Margaret admits that the entire scheme was her doing. She confesses to revealing their destination and plans, facilitating his treachery. Her downcast gaze reveals the profound shame she carries for her error. Margaret adds that Cornelius also hired an assassin who might still be watching them. Rainey then inquires about the appearance of this unseen assassin. She remembers a small, childlike figure with blue hair. Rain naively thinks a child poses no threat, but Lily counters that assumption. With a serious expression, Lily confirms they are being hunted by a dangerous foe. She identifies their adversary as Mirabelle, a top-tier assassin. Lily explains that the assassin is completely undetectable, rendering any search pointless. A look of dawning dread spreads across Rain's face as he comprehends the peril. He realizes with horror that Mirabelle could be watching them right now. Margaret sharply reminds Rain that searching for the assassin is utterly futile. He sheepishly apologizes, claiming his head moved on its own out of fear. Lily suggests a clever strategy, proposing they use Cornelius as a human shield. The bound Cornelius is shown to be absolutely furious at being treated as a pawn. Rain argues that a professional assassin wouldn't jeopardize their own client. Cornelius sweats nervously, clearly anxious about the threat to his own life. The 2 friends share a tense glance, hoping their plan will succeed. On the ground, Cornelius lies utterly defeated and restrained. Margaret turns to her friends, questioning why they haven't condemned her. She confesses to betraying them and causing them significant trouble. Her face is filled with pain and confusion as she wonders why they aren't blaming her. Rain and Lily look back at her, their expressions conveying understanding, not anger. Rain explains that he recognizes her feelings have shifted since her confession. Lily agrees, comforting Margaret that there's no need for her to feel guilty. Overwhelmed by their forgiveness, Margaret gazes at them with a complex emotional expression. The group assigns Margaret the crucial role of watching over Cornelius. A close-up of her mouth reveals her firm, silent determination. With tears of gratitude brimming in her eyes, she quietly accepts the duty. Side by side, a serious young man and a smiling young woman share a moment of focused calm. Cornelius's face contorts with disbelief and anger. He seethes, blaming Margaret for her reckless confession, consumed by a desire to eliminate her. His expression morphs into one of pure, unfiltered fury. Her emotional distress sparks an idea. She should be on guard. A concealed dagger is swiftly drawn, intent on murder. A treacherous scheme takes shape. He plans to kill Margaret. This will enable the watching assassin Mirabelle to eliminate the other 2. Yet, a flicker of understanding crosses Margaret's face. In a sudden motion, Cornelius lunges, aiming his dagger at her back. The blade strikes her armor with a sharp thud. Instead of penetrating, the dagger splinters upon impact. Cornelius stares in disbelief, baffled by the weapon's destruction. He recalls that her armor is fortified by Rain's potent magic. In an instant, Margaret spins around, her sword poised at his throat. She addresses Mirabelle directly, commanding her to halt. The petite assassin rushes forward, alerted by the sudden clash. Margaret asserts that their reinforced armor makes them nearly impossible to hit. She reveals her aim was to demonstrate her lack of vulnerabilities. With a bittersweet smile, she confesses her tears were merely an act. Cornelius is livid, enraged at how thoroughly he was fooled. Rain cheerfully labels Margaret a trickster, much to Lily's stoic irritation. Now in command, Margaret turns to face Rain and Lily. With her back turned, she offers a heartfelt, quiet apology. She takes full blame, declaring this chaos is her doing. She pledges to thwart Mirabelle's mission, even at the cost of her own life. A solitary, ominous footstep echoes through the dungeon's darkness. Rain firmly reassures her that she is their friend, and they won't let her perish. Her expression softens, a blend of guilt and gratitude shining in her eyes. He jokingly warns her not to be too nice, or he might find a weakness. With a grin, he explains that this is what friends do. Lily nods in agreement, stating they can support one another. Overwhelmed by their kindness, Margaret finally breaks down in genuine tears. Another footstep echoes as Mirabelle appears, startling Rain. Margaret's eyes widen slightly at the assassin's unexpected return. Raina observes the small, lethal figure with a cautious gaze. In a flash, Mirabelle disappears, leaving him stunned by her speed. The group scans the empty space, realizing she has vanished once more. Rain and Lily both agree on how unnervingly stealthy and frightening she is. A loud growl suddenly erupts from Rain's stomach. He declares that they've been traveling for half a day and need a break. Margaret questions the safety of resting with Mirabelle still lurking. She insists they should seek a more secure location first. The group of adventurers stands united in a vast open cavern. Lily kneels, showcasing an impressive collection of fresh cooking supplies. A bewildered Rain asks why she's so prepared to cook in a dungeon. She explains the critical need for good food in such perilous surroundings. Lily scoffs at Raina's reminder of her dried meat diet on their last quest. She admits she was ready to die then, so cooking was not on her mind. Rain commends her for being so well equipped for their current adventure. A hint of a pleased smile graces Lily's lips at his praise. He offers his assistance, prompting her to request he ignite a fire. A sizable pot soon starts bubbling over a makeshift fire pit of stones. Chunks of meat and vegetables simmer in the rich, dark broth. Rain waits eagerly, earning a disgusted glance from Lily. She confidently asserts that no adventurer has ever turned down this soup. He can't help but drool as the mouth-watering scent fills the air. Turning to Margaret, he inquires if she plans to eat as well. She coolly responds that she's merely staying close to watch Cornelius. Suddenly, Margaret freezes, a particular scent catching her attention. Lily notices her reaction and asks if she recognizes the scent. A vivid memory surfaces of her sister crafting a similar soup. Lily fondly remembers her sister helping her prepare that same dish. She explains that its simplicity made it a staple for adventurers. With a warm smile, she presents a freshly made bowl to Margaret. Rain volunteers to keep watch while she enjoys her meal. Margaret takes the bowl, stirring the hot soup with her spoon. She quietly expresses her gratitude for the food before taking a bite. As she tastes the dish, her tense expression begins to relax. A faint, bittersweet smile graces her lips, lost in thought. Rain bounces over, eagerly asking her how it tastes. Margaret closes her eyes, genuine contentment spreading across her face. She confirms to the group that the soup is indeed delicious. While the girls savor their meal, Raina's expression suddenly shifts to alarm. He urgently calls for Lily and Margaret to come over for a moment. The two women are too busy relishing their soup to notice. He screams in sheer terror, frantically pointing at the chamber entrance. In the distance, the assassin Mirabelle stands, having returned once again. Lily and Rain find the assassin's direct approach quite peculiar. Margaret notes that she isn't employing her usual stealth. Rain's naive suggestion that she wants food earns him a sharp retort. The scene shows Mirabelle informing Cornelius they need to alter their job details. Cornelius is utterly stunned by her unexpected announcement. She gravely warns that if everyone fights here, it will lead to certain death. The adventurers are completely perplexed by her cryptic warning from a distance. Ran and Lily watch, confused about the imminent threat she mentions. Without warning, the stone wall behind them bursts inward with tremendous force. Rain yells in shock as rocks and debris scatter everywhere. Their cooking pot is sent flying, spilling the precious soup. Amidst the chaos, Rain laments that he hasn't even had a bite yet. He coughs through the thick dust, bewildered by the commotion. Lily covers her mouth, alarm etched on her face. Her eyes widen in disbelief as she identifies the emerging threat. Margaret confirms that a monster has broken through from the other side. A frantic Rain demands to know what kind of creature has appeared. Mirabelle turns her head, her focus now entirely on the new threat. The assassin snaps at the dazed Rain, commanding him to prepare his weapon. He and Margaret stare in utter disbelief at the horrifying creature. Its massive form finally emerges from the dust and debris. A colossal scaled claw with sharp talons crashes down onto the stone floor. Rain expresses his utter disbelief at the terrifying sight before them. An adventurer's eyes widen, grasping the true form of the creature before them. The massive two-headed phosphorescent dragon emerges, guarding a fabled sword. Lily's silhouette reveals her shaking, utterly overwhelmed by the sight of the monster. Her ally, Rain, rushes toward her, urgently calling her name. He yells for her to regain her composure and snap out of it. Rain extends his hand, attempting to pull her from her frozen state. Sweating and frightened, Lily confronts the terrifying truth of her predicament. A dark memory resurfaces. Her entire team was slaughtered by this dragon. Rain kneels beside her, trying to provide solace during her traumatic recollection. Her eyes widen in pure horror as she relives the traumatic events. A boy with spiky hair laughs joyfully while holding a glass with a straw. A close-up captures him sipping from the straw in his drink. The straw wiggles in the glass, filled with ice and a dark beverage. His expression shifts to one of surprise as he continues to hold the drink. He takes another sip, fingers wrapped around the chilled glass. The straw moves again, signaling he's nearing the end of his refreshing drink. His mouth opens in a comical expression of shock or sudden understanding. Two girls watch in disgust. One complains about his irritating antics. Lily's expression is one of disbelief, marking the beginning of a new chapter. A powerful surge of energy hurtles toward the defenseless Nina, holding a bowl. The energy beam detonates with tremendous force upon an unseen target. Margaret screams Lily's name in fear, dreading the worst for her friend. Rain and Lily are seen safe within a fractured crystalline barrier. Margaret exhales in relief, grateful that her friends are unharmed. Rain and Lily stare in shock, processing their narrow escape. Rain explains that the powerful attack struck his armor directly. He grimly observes that without his reinforcement, they would be dead. Facing the beast, he identifies it as the fearsome, luminous dragon. Margaret and the assassin Mirabelle confront the two-headed dragon, ready for combat. Margaret takes the lead, instructing Rain to get Lily to safety while she distracts it. Rain agrees without hesitation, while Lily murmurs in fear of history repeating. As his allies engage, Rain fears his presence only puts everyone at risk. He concludes he was right to avoid fighting again. He urgently grabs Lily, shouting her name to pull her from her fear. He yells that it's time to retreat, insisting they must run now. His desperate call finally reaches Lily, her eyes sharpening with focus. In a flashback, someone seizes Lily's arm, shouting her name in panic. A fellow adventurer cries out that their situation is utterly hopeless. He screams that the two monstrous dragons below are slaughtering everyone. Lily's eyes widen in sheer terror at the massacre unfolding before her. Her fear transforms into determination as she orders everyone to escape first. When a teammate protests, she forcefully commands them to leave immediately. Her comrades flee reluctantly, urging her to return safely as well. She promises she will, gripping her sword tightly in her hand. Standing alone, she defiantly dares the luminous dragon to come at her. A blank panel signifies a transition, marking the end of the harrowing memory. In the present, Raina gazes at Lily, questioning her mental state. He stands somberly, stating that fleeing back then was utterly futile. He declares that he now recalls everything from that tragic day. He remembers how the dragon defeated him, then hunted down and killed everyone. He confesses he couldn't even leave a mark on the beast back then. The vision reveals Margaret's sister being hurled away by a devastating hit. Horror grips Margaret as she witnesses her sister being brutally taken down. Rain recalls screaming out Margaret's sister's name in utter despair. Shock and disbelief paint Margaret's face as she processes the vicious assault. Rain ponders the chaos of that moment, surveying the debris. He remembers that, unlike the others, he stood his ground during the fight. This gives him a sense of having earned his place in the battle. His fist tightens, determination coursing through him as he resolves to act. Standing firm, he clutches his sword, declaring it's time to fight. Now, back on her feet, Lily urgently calls for Rain to bolster her sword. Rain readily agrees, eager to back Lily in their joint struggle. Margaret impatiently pushes Rain to speed up with the support. She points out that the assassin Mirabelle is currently holding the dragon at bay. Yet she doubts how long Mirabelle can possibly endure. The three adventurers stand united in the devastated hall, their resolve unyielding. Lily turns and softly calls out to Margaret, easing the tension. Margaret glances over, her face uncertain as she inquires what Lily needs. Lily quietly reassures her that she knows Margaret didn't abandon them. Margaret is taken aback by Lily's unexpected words of comfort. With a gentle smile, Lily affirms she always believed in that truth. Margaret's expression softens, a new understanding blossoming between them. Their moment is shattered by a loud thud, causing them to turn in shock. Rain has collapsed, seemingly out cold from sheer exhaustion. Margaret and Lily gaze down at him, a mix of exasperation and concern. One dragonhead comments that the assassin was skilled, yet ultimately mediocre. Margaret and Lily listen, grim expressions on their faces, surprised by the creature's words. Rain sits up, shocked to realize that dragons can actually speak. One dragonhead observes, its expression both menacing and intelligent. A tense silence envelops the chamber as the adventurers confront the silent beast. One head remarks that the blonde woman Lily seems somewhat familiar. Lily stiffens, her expression hardening at the dragon's recognition. The other head dismisses the notion, labeling her a weakling not worth remembering. It recalls the woman from 2 years prior as all show and no substance. Lily, her back turned, quietly questions what's wrong with that mindset. Rain and Margaret glare, Rain calling the dragon a scoundrel. The three adventurers stand united, defiant against the dragon's taunts. Lily spins around, explaining she wore a brave face so others could escape. She insists that without her act, they wouldn't have fled without hesitation. The dragon cruelly snaps back that she lost, and they all perished anyway. Fueled by righteous anger, Lily vows to return and settle that score. She turns to Rain, asking for her sword to be handed back. She tells him to hold on for just a moment, her resolve unwavering. A concerned Rain meekly complies, sensing the change in her demeanor. She addresses the fallen Mirabelle, vowing to avenge her against the dragon. Margaret smiles, agreeing with Lily's plan to move forward. Lily points out a difference between the two dragon heads. She instructs Margaret to take on the left head while she tackles the right. With fierce determination, the two women charge forward to strike together. They leap toward the dragon, blades poised for a synchronized assault. A woman with dark hair anxiously questions whether their assault succeeded. Lily, the blonde warrior, shows her intent to drive her sword deep. The blade embeds itself in the dragon's skin, encountering surprising, immense resistance. Lily clenches her jaw, remarking on the beast's astonishingly tough scales. The injured dragon condescendingly commends their effort, but asserts they've reached their limit. It dismisses the two fighters as nothing but reckless fools courting death. Furious, Lily snaps back, insisting the dragon has misjudged them. She proclaims that their team possesses a secret weapon in that man. The dragon appears puzzled by her cryptic reference to their ally. The scene shifts to Rain kneeling beside the fallen assassin Mirabelle, urging her to hold on. In her last moments, Mirabelle weakly calls out for her mother. Rain attempts to soothe her, promising she will reunite with her mother. A haunting memory resurfaces of her abusive mother screaming that everyone is worthless. Her mother's cruel voice rationalizes that killing is acceptable since humans lack value. The memory ends with her mother commanding a young Mirabelle to go kill someone. Back in the present, Rain is appalled by the horrific memory he just witnessed. He fervently tells Mirabelle's spirit that her mother was mistaken. No one is worthless. Mirabelle appears to find tranquility, her face serene as she passes away. With a gentle yet resolute expression, Rainy confronts the massive two-headed dragon. The dragon, furious at his defiance, calls him a bastard for turning away. It roars in rage, warning him not to mock it as it lunges forward. Rain's calm demeanor vanishes, replaced by a fierce, focused rage. The beast scoffs at his small sword, questioning if it can penetrate its scales. One of the dragon's eyes widens in sudden, inexplicable shock. It stutters, questioning the nature of the unassuming weapon before it. The left head trembles, asking its counterpart what is so frightening about the sword. The right head yells that its partner is a fool, revealing the sword is unusually reinforced. From the ground, Lily smirks, pointing out that the dragon has finally caught on. Margaret adds that the left head seems too dim to grasp the reality. Lily clarifies that there's a limit to the points Rain can distribute to others. However, she notes he can channel significantly more power into his own equipment. The right head exclaims in frustration, calling its counterparts foolish for their ignorance. Margaret reveals the staggering power disparity, plus 300 versus Rain's plus 10,000. The dragon's eye widens in sheer horror at this unbelievable revelation. Now wielding a polearm, Lily lands on the dragon's back, apologizing for the delay. She asserts that due to their combined strength, she can now act with assurance. With a swift motion, she strikes the beast, creating a critical opening. The dragon recoils in agony as Lily points to a spot on its chest. Lily explains the dragon's anatomy, noting the right head's superior blood circulation. Margaret cheerfully mocks the left head, calling it an idiot for its lack of blood. Their analysis concludes that the dragon has one hard spot, positioned right of center. Rain grins confidently, affirming he understands the strategy and can be relied upon. The dragon realizes that an attack of that magnitude would slice it clean in two. Its left head panics, vowing to dodge while the right head calls it a moron. The beast is engulfed by a moment of pure, unfiltered terror. The right head attempts to reassure its counterpart, stating an attack is pointless if it misses. It dismisses Rain as a novice fighter, confident in its ability to evade his strike. The right head declares it will anticipate his movements, leaving nothing to fear. Rain issues a sharp, confident challenge to the threat before him. Margaret's expression hardens as she declares it's time to settle this battle. Lily wraps up her idea, declaring it's time to determine the destiny of their three foes. The air crackles with tension as the two face off, each waiting for the other to make a move.